We made a promise when people joined the military, and we better hold up that promise.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network. That is Jose Vasquez, an Army vet and good friend who gave this speech outside the Manhattan VA following a life-saving surgery after a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. You can see him supporting himself with a cane, but his voice is strong and his determination is as fierce as ever.
We are not going back, and we're not going to just sit by and let two billionaires tell us how our tax dollars are going to get used when it comes to our veterans. I was 18 years old when I entered the military. I'm 50 years old now. I got two children. You mean to tell me that because I served my country, that I'm not going to be able to live or not be able to access the VA system? That's bull. And I am sorry for the language, but I'm pissed off, y'all. And I know millions of veterans across the country are just as angry as I am. And so are their family members. So we're here standing with our union brothers and sisters and veterans. Many of those union brothers and sisters are also veterans. We got a lot of work to do, y'all. But I'm telling you now, the members of Common Defense, the members of all these unions that are standing behind me are not going to let this go by.
One thing you need to know about Jose is that he leads Common Defense, one of the grassroots veterans organizations that is leading the resistance to Trump's authoritarian takeover. Yesterday, I shared part one of my conversation with Jose, where he talked about what it means to vets to see their own government betray them. In part two, Jose talks about waking up from surgery to the news that the Trump regime was proposing drastic cuts to the VA that saved his life. And Jose shares his thoughts on how to channel that anger to fight back. Here's our conversation. What was it like waking up to that news, given that you lead an organization with thousands of veterans who depend, many of them, on the VA, to know that we're now a target? I mean, there are so many angles to address here. Let's not delve into like the political stupidity of going after the VA, but it's the moral element. Like, we were promised things for shouldering the burden of going downrange, and to pull that out from under us, to have that pulled out from under you as you're waking up from a life-saving operation. I can't imagine what was going through your head.
I mean, I think the feelings I had is reflected in the speech that you rolled of my speech in front of the VA hospital at a rally, basically standing in solidarity with all the workers there. You know, the AFG union, the National Nurses United, NISA union. I made it a point to ensure that I was there for that rally. And I actually got to take a picture with one of the nurses that treated me, two of them actually, one of the nurses' aides and one of the nurses. And so, while I was in the hospital, I was chatting up all the nurses and asking them, how do you feel about needing to send an email to some, like 20-year-old kid in Doge asking, like, what did you do this week? And it's like, how many things does a nurse do in the course of a week to take care of patients, and to sort of boil that down into several bullet points. So, pissed off is a nice way of putting it. We also at Common Defense did some reading of Project 2025, and in that huge sort of agenda that the Trump administration claims they were not connected to, but are certainly following that playbook like to the letter right now. They sort of themselves named going after veterans benefits as a third rail. And we want to make sure they feel the shock of going after that third rail by being very vocal because of the same promises that you just mentioned, that, we send people off to war with the understanding that we're going to take care of them when they get home. And while I didn't serve in a combat zone, I am certainly service connected in terms of my service. I was injured during my active duty time, and folks have deployed numerous times to the combat zone and are dealing with the repercussions of that on a daily basis. So the idea that our own government and our commander in chief would then go back on that promise is, devastating to say the least. But at the same time, as a New Yorker, Donald Trump has always had problems with veterans, whether it's street vendors who get preferential licensing when it comes to being street vendors. Many vets, if you just pay attention to hot dog vendors and people who sell souvenirs on the streets, many of them have military service flags connected to their carts, and that's because there was a program put in place decades ago giving veterans preferential treatment. Donald Trump never wanted any of those vendors to be outside of the numerous buildings that he owns around New York City. Obviously, the way he spoke about somebody like John McCain, being a prisoner of war, I mean, the list goes on in terms of his disrespect to military service and just having no, moral sense of the obligation that every American owes to anybody who served in uniform.
There's not enough men like me who do whatever they want.
Are you sick of it yet?
Those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty.
The anger.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Cenk. I live as a capitalist.
The hate.
And we have a system of checks and balances. That's a good one. That's really funny. We do?
The idea that to be a man, you have to be a bully. Fuck you! We should be better than this.
Females don't have independent thought. They don't come up with anything.
Our kids deserve better than this.
It's like women want equal rights when it's convenient, but then they still want the door open for them.
So help us change it. Subscribe to Valor Media Network, where you can find shows on sports, men's health, and patriotism without the resentment and division.
True strength is about discipline, resilience, and service.
If you've wondered where all the positive role models are, especially for young men, check out Navy SEAL Dan Barkov and Commander Bobby Jones as they share stories of service and sacrifice.
Being good at being a man is about what you do for others and not what you do for yourself.
Listen to Jason Tander and co-hosts Ravi Gupta and Adisu Demisi give you the inside track on the politics of sports.
I just want to take back what I said about the Bills. No, because in all honesty, your team seems to have gotten the vaccination thing right. Okay. My team seems to be struggling with it.
These shows and many more from Valor Media Network prove that you don't have to be an asshole to connect with young men today. Subscribe to Valor Media Network today. Let's talk about the politics for a minute, because Common Defense, the organization you lead, has been at the tip of the spear on so many of these issues. And I think finally, the rest of the country is catching up and realizing, we can't just write op-eds and issue strongly worded tweets or whatever the Susan Collins MO is, right? We got to express our anger in real ways, in peaceful and legal ways, legal for now, right? Until they make speech illegal. But you have figured this out. You have figured out how to animate at the grassroots, how to turn people out, how to channel that anger and that outrage. And it feels like we are approaching a moment as a country now where people are going to be looking to the Common Defense model for how you express that frustration in a way that leads to change.
Yeah, I mean, part of our theory of change is we think there are millions of vets who are not organized yet. And we approach this work from an organizing model, an organizing perspective. We study labor history, we study civil rights movement, we study many of the movements that have allowed us to progress in this country and to uphold the values that we claim as Americans, right? Liberty and justice for all is our North Star. And so, we know that there are vets who share our values. We know that there are vets who are pissed off right now, not only about veterans care, but about many of the things that this administration is trying to advance, whether it's foreign policy, domestic policy, cutting the Department of Education. I mean, I can't believe every morning that I wake up the new news that's coming out of what this administration is trying to advance. And so whether it's, the 30% of veterans that are federal workers who are, disproportionately being laid off right now, or, folks are deeply concerned about how we are representing ourselves in the world as a nation, and having, someone like Donald Trump be the sort of figurehead of our government. We just understand that there is a lot of work to do to connect with vets, and we're doing it on a everyday basis. We got our start as the Vets Against Trump. Like, we were at Trump Tower when he was candidate Trump. Yep. Thanks for picking up the merch there, Ken. But so we have always tried to be a thorn in the side of this individual and whatever agenda he's trying to advance. For the most part, we have been very successful in growing this organization. It was just 3 of us that founded this organization. I think our email list is approaching 500,000 people, and we've got at least 40 to 50,000 vets that we've identified who are part of our email list. And so we know that this grassroots movement has legs and that it's growing. I feel like if there are vets who are out there who share our values, they can check out commondefense.us. And even if you voted for Trump, or if you're an independent, and you don't necessarily consider yourself as part of a left or progressive movement, there's plenty to be disappointed about when it comes to how this administration is approaching policy and in particular policy towards veterans.
Yeah, we'll definitely put all the links down in the show notes. I would venture to say that the example being set by Common Defense is going to go well beyond inspiring the disaffected vets. I feel like we're at a moment now where the leadership you demonstrate, the leadership you put into action with your protests, with your organizing, people are going to follow. And I can't imagine a more powerful statement than a protest with the front line being vets and nurses and union members. I would add clergy to that as well. I mean, we are building the kind of coalition with vets at the center of it that I think is going to take down this authoritarian regime. Jose, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're looking good. Please keep us posted, and we'll keep rooting for you, man.
Thanks for having me on, Ken. Really appreciate it.
You bet.